Good morning, church. How are you doing this morning? Lucas just reminded me to say, isn't it grand to be a Christian? And I love that David does that. I think that's one thing that I've come to Concord and a tradition that y'all have and a tradition that he's brought that is amazing because it is such a grand thing to be a Christian. It's such an amazing thing to come together and worship every single Lord's Day. And so I'm very honored to be given the pulpit, given the opportunity to preach to you this morning. And so for some of you, I may need an introduction. For some of you, I may not, but I've been the intern, the youth intern at Concord for the last 2 summers. And so my name is Nick Webb, and I graduated from Faulkner University in May with a degree in youth and family ministry. And so I've been given the opportunity to work alongside Connor and the whole youth group and all the students that have come through the youth group in the last 2 years. And so I want to thank you all for your prayers earlier this summer. I'm not going to make it through this lesson without crying. I love y'all. Y'all are amazing. Tomorrow, I'm going home. And then Friday, I'm going to Athens, Tennessee, where I've accepted a job as a youth minister. So, come visit me. I love y'all. So if you're ever in that area, I'd love to see you again. But today, I almost went the wrong way. Oh, wait, I got to turn this on. That might help. Today, I want to focus on the 20 weeks that I've had with Concord, the 20 weeks that I've had with the youth. And so the verse that we read, what was it? Was a verse, kind of an easy pick from 1 Timothy 4:12. Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech and conduct, in love and faith and in purity. And so Paul writes this to Timothy specifically, but I think we can very well write this to our youth group, as they have set an example for all of us believers in speech and conduct, in love and faith and in purity. And so that's exactly what this youth group has done. They have set an example for the church, and they do that as a group. And so in order to show the example that I've set, I'm going to have pictures and stories, which some of these kids may be scared now, knowing which pictures I have of them and which stories I have of them, and which ones I may or may not say today. Cortland's getting really scared, and I can see it in his eyes. But I want to use these stories to encourage the church. Encourage the church to be like the kids, to be like the students, and have such action and such faith that they do. The work that they do in the church is truly amazing. And so, November 10th, 2022, I got an email from Todd Brenneman. Many of you know him. He's the dean of the Bible department at Faulkner, saying that there's an opening here. And I saw the name Connor McLean. I was like, yes, 100%. For those of you that don't know, Connor was either a junior counselor or counselor for me whenever I was in Bible camp in like elementary school. And so he probably didn't really remember me too much, but I had a high opinion of him. And so I saw that Connor had an internship opening, and I said, yes, I want to go there. January 1st, I take a call with Connor, and I accept the job to be the intern here after the interview process and all of that. And I walk out my room, and my dad looks at me and he says, so what'd you do? And I accepted the job. And he was very happy, but he literally sat down because my backup plan was to be the intern at my home congregation and said, well, we were about to offer you the internship here. And I was like, well, I won't be home anymore. I know that they were upset, but we're very happy to have seen me work with you guys. And then over the course of the next month or so, I received emails from Robin, Gail, Ron, UL. I may have got one from Ted, but I couldn't find it. But I'm sure I got one from Ted. And then I know I got a text from David, But I have no idea, like, I'd have to scroll so many text messages up, and so I have no idea when I really got that. But I know I received text messages from, or emails from all the staff here and elders welcoming me. And so that was a very uplifting thing. And then May 26th, I began my internship here. I drove down and started working with Connor. I think the next slide, yes. The kids are having flashbacks. This was last summer's theme. It was faith to life. And so we talked about aspects of our faith that we needed to bring to life, needed to see in action. And so some of that was patience and forgiveness. And then we had a question about the fulfillment of the old law and what that looks like for our faith. And so we talked about that. And then the idea of becoming a nobody and becoming that nobody for Christ so he can shine through our lives. And so going backwards to this one, it was a little bit out of order. I think I put it in the wrong order. That's my fault. But I began my internship here, and Connor started off perfectly. I talked to him and was like, hey, it's tough whenever a church doesn't know what an intern is. It's tough when the youth group kids don't know what a college kid is and doesn't really know where they're at. And so Connor's like, great idea. I'm going to lock you in the church for 12 hours with these kids nonstop. And so we started off the summer with our lock-in. And that was great. It was amazing. I got to know so many of these kids that day. Quincy specifically, as we started our rivalry in Foursquare, as he was talking trash, and we kept keeping score, and by the end of the night it was like 23-4. I had 23, he had 4. So that started so many good relationships with these kids that night. Nope, going the wrong way. And then we have what's called Wednesday night hangouts, and so I'm going to have 2 slides for this, but it's every other Wednesday night. We come to the church at 3 o'clock on Wednesdays, and we stay until 7, and then we have class, and then class and all that ends about 8. So they're here for a big majority of their Wednesday, and they spend time with hangouts. We continue to play Foursquare. If you didn't know what Foursquare is, I have a picture now here for you. You can kind of look at the rules, but basically if you just hit the ball in the other person's square, now it's their turn to hit it, and if they don't hit it, or if it bounces in their square twice, they get out. And so don't ask Quincy for help. He's not very good. So if you don't know, now you know. But this is one game that we like to play. Last year we did some painting, and then I think we had a movie night as well in these hangouts. And so we just get to come together and spend time together. And so that should be an encouragement for the church to spend time together. They spend so much time together, and they love each other. They may get tired of each other, but at the end of the day, they love each other. And then we have the mission trip to Honduras. I wasn't on this trip, and because Connor went on the trip with the youth group kids that went, and so I'm not really the right person to ask about this, but I know that the people who went, they loved serving. These kids love serving, and the kids that didn't go, they got to spend like a week and a half where I was basically their youth minister, and I was in charge, and that was nerve-wracking, but everything went well, and so nothing went wrong that day. And so I'm not the right person to ask for the Honduras mission trip, but if you want to know more about what they did, it happened last summer, and there's plenty of kids and students and parents and adults who went on that trip that would be good to learn from. And then we had our high school trip. And so this high school trip went extremely well. The high schoolers got to go to Busch Gardens, and then we did an event called Tree Hoppers. And I'd have to go all the way through my slides because the middle school trip this year picked up something like that this year, and so we'll see pictures of that. But on this Busch Gardens trip, I got to get extremely close with even more. I got to spend time with Macy, I know specifically, and I know Jacob was there, and I got to spend more time with Jacob. And so these kids have impacted my life, and I hope I've impacted them, but they've been such a blessing. And so I don't do water rides, and the one picture we have is a water ride, or 2 pictures. And so we got Jaden Carrington and Jacob on the right, and then we got Camille Jordan and Dominic on the left. And that's like the one thing I don't do. I don't want to get wet at an amusement park. I don't want to be soaking wet, walking around. Don't like having wet shoes and wet socks. But they happily did this, and they're having a blast. So I'm glad that we get to spend time and see these kids spend so much time together. And then we had our Sunday service day, and I think John Klinke was kind of in charge of that. And we just spent time here. We washed the bus. We cleaned out closets. Kind of whatever the church needed to be done, we did. And I didn't really hear them do that with very much complaining. It was hard to wash the bus because we are not 18 feet tall, but we did our best. We had to drive it up to the stairwell on the side and wash it on the stairwell. So that was really difficult, but they did it, and they did it happily, and they had fun, and got the job done, and did a great job. And then we have VBS workdays, which, again, is service, and they do so much of this. How much of this are you doing? These kids are so energized and so ready to spend time here that they come before a half a week of VBS where they're going to spend with the Lord, and they spend the days before setting up for VBS. And then we get to VBS. And I really only have one story, but it might embarrass them too much, so I'm not going to share. But I loved VBS. I loved the time that we had. The theme is being overshadowed in my mind by this year's theme, so I cannot think of it to save my life. I know if I look at Lydia, she will quickly remind me. But it was such a great thing and such a blessing to have these kids at VBS and spend time with them. Oh, actually, remember, we got is it slab boxing? I don't remember now. But just kind of as our activity, we got to spend time, and kids that I really didn't speak to or have much interaction with, I got to interact with at VBS. And so it has been an amazing thing. And then we go to Legacy. We go to Connor and I's kind of second home, where me and him both went to college and get to spend time there. And last year, I think it was great. We take one of the biggest groups. We got if not the biggest group, we have the farthest drive. And every single one of these kids don't mind the drive. They want to be there. They spend so much time together. And they walked away, and their favorite thing that they did was serve. The favorite thing that they did was serve. I know my group, I know we did a few other things. My group packed buckets with Dalreda Church of Christ at their warehouse for Ukraine and sent them supplies that they needed, and this was last year, just as a reminder, and sent those supplies there. I know some other churches and maybe even the middle schoolers did different stuff. We kind of split it up by age and by group, and so I don't know everything that was done. But we walked away, and they were like, we loved the service project. We want to be able to do that again. And so it's an amazing thing when you got kids who just spent a week playing basketball, a week playing football, a week playing games in the auditorium, and they walk away and they said, I love serving and giving up of my time and giving up of my energy to give to the church. And then with that, we have the middle school trip. I love this trip, and it's gone terrible both years. I have a picture. So this is the group that we got to take with us to the middle school trip. We stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A. If you're curious, my shirt does say best grandpa ever, and I maybe correlated that with taking a bunch of middle schoolers out on a trip. So way I would look like their grandpa. I don't think it fooled anybody, but that's okay. What did we even do? Oh, mini golf. We were going to go do mini golf, and the van that we rented, the battery just stopped working. And we were trying to figure out how to get it charged, how to get it jumped, and by the time we did all that, it was too late to go play mini golf. And not once did these kids complain. Not once did the middle schoolers say, how dare you take me all the way to this house and then just cancel my trip on me? Not once. But instead, they enjoyed the time. They sat in a hot van that was turned off. We should have let them out probably. But they sat in a hot van for too long that we couldn't get cranked up, and they did not once complain. And I'm not saying they did not once complain, and I heard them complain once or twice. I did not hear them complain a single time. It's been amazing to work with these kids and work with the students and the congregation here, and to be so encouraged by their efforts. And then we have the Nerf War. I don't have any pictures from the Nerf War, but I know it's a fun event that they always love. I see friends get brought to this event, and so they get introduced to the church, and even have seen repeats from this year's Nerf War where one friend came both times. And so it's amazing. It's been an incredible time for them to come. But we turned the basement into, I guess, one side versus the other side, and we hang up like tarp from the ceiling, and they have to go through these hallways to get into the battle area, and it's a lot of fun. And so I know they've always had fun doing that. And then we get to last year's Lake Day. And so for last year's Lake Day, I have a few pictures. This is me and Caden. These are the only pictures that we got, but don't worry, Miss Kristen took these, and she also made us get a good one. So me, Caden, and Colby, this is us at the Lake Day, and many of these other kids that are there and wanting to spend time with each other and fellowship with one another. Thank you to the Pruitts for offering up your home and offering up your time to give to these kids and give to these students and anyone else who kind of goes. And then this was my last day. This was the day that ended my summer, but I still don't really know. I can't tell if it's Connor and he wants to play it off as if it's anonymous. I can't tell if it's actually people that have given, but I am thankful to whoever paid for my Florida residence pass to Disney. I really don't know. He kind of told me that the people didn't want to know, and that's fine. So they paid for me to go to Disney. I got to go to all 4 parks last year because of that. I'm from Florida, so I get the Florida residence pass, so it worked out. It made it cheaper for them. But I'm very thankful. Before I left, I got to go to Hollywood Studios with Jaden and Carrington, and with Connor. Love Star Wars, so I got to go experience all of that. And then this is my favorite picture from, I don't even know the name of the ride, but I'm sure y'all know. It's the Haunted Tower. It just drops you. If you look at Carrington, she would be very thankful if you do, and look at her face and how scared she is. She would be very thankful. She doesn't do roller coasters, and we got her on this one, so that was a ton of fun. And then this ended my summer. This is where my summer with y'all ended. I didn't really know if I'd be back. Me and Connor talked about it and said, if you want to come back, he wants me back, but we got to figure out if the elders do too. Luckily, they did, and they were very thankful for that opportunity. And I knew that once kind of that summer's up, I'd also be looking for a job. And so I didn't know if I would have a job before the summer or not. And so luckily, by December 14th through 18th, we had the Christmas party and a Sunday hangout. It's the Wednesday hangout, but it happened on Sunday after church between services. But the biggest thing, we went over to the Clinkies and we had our Christmas party, and we may or may not have had a rigged Dirty Santa / White Elephant game, if you know what that is. But we exchanged gifts, and we kind of rigged it so I went first, so at the end I could steal a certain gift. And the kids kind of figured that out, but they weren't too happy that we rigged it, but it had to be done, I promise. Because what I stole was parchment paper, which nobody else was going to steal. And so we knew it would be ready for me. And then I opened it up, and it just said on it, "You are the summer intern." And so that's how I was able to announce to the youth group and parents that were there that I was coming back. I know some of those parents were like, "Nah, this is a prank." But they were very happy to have me back, and I'm very thankful to be welcomed in such loving arms by the church here. And so, summer number 2, this summer began on May 27th. We had to push it back a little bit because I had a job interview, so I missed the lock-in, which I was very upset about because it was such a fun event, but I missed the lock-in this year. But I'm sure they did similar things, played Foursquare, Quincy lost a lot, all that good stuff. But my summer began. It began on a Monday, a little less hectic, a little less busy, but it began really well. And so this year's theme was Christianity 101. And I asked the kids every single summer, what does Christianity 101, like what is it? What does it mean to you? What is the purpose of this? And it's to go back to the basics. It's I kind of made it so they could ask questions and their questions would be answered. And so some of the questions that we answered were, why the churches of Christ? What is the age of accountability? And how do we know that God is real? And so those are just a few, and we covered a lot of others, and I think those were really good questions. These kids and students are asking really deep, really important questions, and it's incredible. And so to not be content with where they're at, but to want to learn more. It's such an encouragement for us as a church to continue to learn, continue to grow in everything that we do. And then again, we have our Wednesday night hangouts, just as a reminder, where we play Foursquare. And I didn't get to play any Foursquare with Quincy this year, but I know it would have been like 23-5 instead of 23-4 this year. He would have gotten a little bit better, but not quite enough better to beat me. But we had our hangouts and had a ton of fun. This year for the hangouts, what did we do? We did a golf course, a mini golf course in the building. I don't know of any other special ones that we did. I think that was it. But we had the miniature golf course kind of in here. Quincy did win that though. So we did a bring your own putter, and so you're supposed to kind of bring a unique item. We had homemade putters made of like PVC pipe and wood. I used a fire extinguisher. Colby used a Christmas tree. So it was kind of meant to be fun and do your own thing, and it was incredible and awesome to see those kids spend time and argue about whether or not they cheated. You may see that as a bad thing, but it brings so much joy for me to see the friendships that they have. And then June 1st, we had a family Devo/pool day. We had one of these last year, but I do not remember the date. I could not find it on the calendar at all, so I'm sorry I left it out. But this was hosted at the Hernandez's house, and we were able to come together and have a Devo, and then spend time. We threw a football. I don't know if we ever got around to volleyball, but it was there, or some of the kids may have gotten around to it. We swam in the pool. We had lunch or dinner. I don't remember which time frame it was. But we got to come together and again, spend time with one another, and then spend time in God's Word. And we're shown an illustration through tug of war. So hopefully these kids are remembering that kind of who you're putting on your side maybe determines the battles that you win and things like that. And then this is my favorite one. So I'm going to go ahead and give some context before it goes up there. But I got to celebrate Cortland's birthday. And so we went to Chick-fil-A, me and some of the other youth group kids, and we spent some time with Cortland for his birthday. But I love this so much because Cortland loves to message me about the Atlanta Braves whenever his Pittsburgh Pirates win and beat us. And so earlier, between, I guess, the end of last summer, he messaged me this. And so the Pirates, if you don't know, are really bad. And the Braves are supposed to be really good. And the Pirates beat the Braves. And so he messaged me, how did your poverty franchise lose to the Pittsburgh Pirates? Just to rub it in my face. And it was not long after I left last summer. And so to walk away with the kind of relationships that I have with these kids is incredible. These relationships hopefully will last a lifetime. They hopefully still have my phone number. Hopefully they haven't blocked me or anything. But they can message me and reach out to me and talk to me and mess with me the way that Cortland does. So I love Cortland and want to give him a little shout out because I made sure I saved this just in case anything like this ever happened. But we go now late, like a week later, we go to the mission trip to North Carolina, and this was kind of in place of the Honduras mission trip to still give the youth group things to do, and we had such a big group go. It was incredible. This is our church and Buford Church of Christ in Buford, Georgia, and so we got to spend time with not only our youth group, but another youth group. And I've heard these kids say over and over, when are we going to see Buford again? When are we going to do something with Buford again? Is that they got to meet these kids, they got to know them as Christ, and love them as Christ would love them, and vice versa. They love our students the way that Christ loves them. And so at this mission trip, we did a lot of work, a lot of door knocking, and we got to do a lot of this. There, I think you got Dom and Lucas and Micah kind of as the three in those pictures. I didn't do what they were doing that day. I think they're ripping up like pallets with like crowbars and stuff. So those are some pretty strong boys. But they got to do that, and then a lot of us spent time door knocking and talking to strangers, and it was difficult. And I was nervous with the door knocking because I have a door knocking experience myself. Whenever I was in high school, we door knocked. We had one person show up. These kids door knocked and brought, I think it was like 75 people to the church that week to visit and fellowship with us and spend time with a cookout. Is that the work that they've done, even if it was unsuccessful in the eyes of people, they did such a great job. And even that one soul, it's hard to see that as a success, but we had that one soul come to church. And so for them to have the personalities where people saw them and were encouraged to come and have a cookout with us and spend time with us, it's incredible. And then we have Cortland, who led a Devo, so I wanted to brag on him a little bit because I just got onto him a little bit, kind of. But I want to brag on Cortland. He had a good Devo. And then Macy's baptism, if it will. Macy got baptized in North Carolina, and in case you forgot or didn't know. So we added a new sister in Christ. And to be a part of that conversation and to spend time with her while door knocking, me and her were kind of a duo, and talk about this, talk about it after the fact as well. And then to see her be like, no, I'm not talking to strangers. You got to do that. And I happily did it. But to encourage her and eventually see her hand a flyer and talk to somebody, it was very encouraging to see her grow up in just that little week that we had. And then we went to Carowinds for the last day. So we were there for like a week or 8 days or so. And so our last day, we went to Carowinds and had an off day. And we got to spend so much time. I spent, again, time with Macy, Dalen, and Autumn and them all in Carowinds and got to get even closer to them. The students that are leaving, it's a hard goodbye, but it is a happy farewell. And we know we'll see them again, physically as well, but they're headed off to college, and it's hard to say goodbye, but to know that they're in good hands and they have good relationships with the Lord is an amazing thing. But while some of us took our off day at Carowinds, other of us took off days during the work. And so this is our elder, UL, and so he slept through the work. I don't know if this was taken at Carowinds or during the work or during a downtime. I was just messing with him. But I do think that though this picture's funny, it is an encouragement to see our elders go and spend so much time with our youth. Many times people become scared of elders. My dad told me a story where he was trying to meet with a family, like, hey, like, we just want to talk and see what's up. And the first thing they said was like, are we in trouble? So many places, youth group especially, kind of look up to our elders and may be scared of them to some extent, but our elders have great relationships with our youth group kids. And it's an amazing thing to see. And then we have our guys and girls night. I have no idea really what happened at the girls' night. I was not there. I was at the guys' night. But I know they were encouraged, and I know that they had a good time together. But the guys' night, we got to sit down, play video games, watch movies. Judah's getting really scared because I got a picture of him, but it's not up here. I'll go ahead and let you know. But he literally said, and I'll explain the story, he literally said, guys, I'm not even tired, and I stayed up all night. 5 minutes later, asleep up there, out, gone. While a movie's playing, and so like it's not even quiet, he's just out like a light. So he's really scared that picture is going to be up there. It would have been hilarious to have. But we went to Cane's. We had a little devo and a discussion about the almost like a boys to men, things that we can do, how we can better our relationships. And Brent was in that conversation again. An example of an elder spending time with our youth is a great example. And then we had our high school trip. We went down towards Lakeland, and we saw Inside Out for the movie. And I'm totally blanking on what else we did. We did an escape room. And that's what it was. My room totally escaped. We totally got along and totally got out of there in time. We did not. It wasn't even close, really. But the girls I know escaped. Other rooms escaped. We could not figure out that thing. It was a hard escape room, but we got to spend time together and grow to learn each other even more. Where are we? We're at VBS. This year I cannot speak much on VBS. The theme was good. I was here for Sunday, but I got sick, and so I missed VBS. And thankfully for my class, John filled in, and Connor had a great time, I know, with the youth, and for all the youth that volunteered their time to be with other classes and younger classes is an incredible thing to see our students, our older students especially, kind of become leaders at Vacation Bible School and become leaders for the young. It's an awesome thing. And so again, we go to Legacy. This year, I feel like more specifically, I really got to kind of introduce some of them to my friends. They got to get to know them. Some of my friends gave lessons or devos as they've graduated now and are ministers. But again, we have one of the bigger groups, and this is the group that we took. We have bigger groups than most, and we still drive, and they love it. They're so encouraged. And again, this year we didn't have a service project, but for them to walk away and say, this class was my favorite. This time of devotion was my favorite. This lesson was my favorite. And not to hear them say, I enjoyed the basketball, or I enjoyed the volleyball, or whatever it was. Most of them, and if not most, all of them really enjoyed a class, really enjoyed some of the speakers. And then we had our Nerve War again. Same thing as last time, but a ton of fun. Time to bring your friends, and they do a great job doing that. And they spend so much time together. I'm really emphasizing that. But we then have our middle school trip. And as I hinted at earlier, it did not go according to plan. We went to a baseball game for a couple hours just for it to get rained out and never begin. And so we weren't able to go to that baseball game. But again, the kids never complained. They maybe complained about the expired ranch that we may or may not have eaten, but that's a little more fair. But when it came to the baseball game getting canceled, they never complained, and we quickly pivoted to bowling. And so I got this picture of Weston bowling. He's new to the youth group this year, and I've enjoyed having him, enjoyed getting to know him. But we have a couple new kids get brought up every single year. And so I got to enjoy bowling with Weston, someone that I don't have too many conversations with, but I love that kid, and he's amazing. We got to spend so much time with each other at bowling. And then there should be, this is like a tree trek, and this is the same thing as the tree hoppers that we did. It's not the same place, but similar thing that we did with the high school trip last year. So we got to kind of do this tree trek where you're kind of like zip lined and harnessed in, and it's very tough. I don't remember all who finished all the hardest levels, but it's very impressive that these kids are able to get through as much as they are and kind of even work together. I've seen some of them kind of encourage each other to be like, keep going, like you want to finish this. You don't want to have to get off early. Keep going. Or even to reach out a hand and pull them up and help them stand up on the platform that's next. And so to see these middle schoolers do that without complaining, without having a problem that the day one was canceled and it didn't go according to plan, but to spend time together was an awesome thing. And then today, man, we got the lake day. I don't have any pictures because that is today. But I want to reread the verse that we looked at to begin with. It says, "Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity." These students are an incredible encouragement to the church. Though they're young, their passion to fellowship with one another and their passion to serve the body, the body of Christ, is amazing. They give up of their time. They give up of their summer, especially when they're finally off from school. Sorry to remind y'all that school's tomorrow. But they give up of their summer. They give up of so much time. And they spend so much of that time together. And they fellowship and they study and they serve. All whenever they could be doing something else. All when they could be doing something else, but they don't. They choose to spend their summer here. They choose to spend their summer traveling in a bus whose air conditioning doesn't seem to work sometimes. A bus where it's really a tight fit, but not once do they really complain, and they get along. This youth group has been an incredible encouragement to me, and I wanted to share that with you today. If you're feeling discouraged, see the young. The young are setting an incredible example, and sometimes our faith can kind of vary depending on how much time we're giving to the Lord. These youth give so much time. How much time are you giving? We had an opportunity for giving right after the communion, and sometimes that's money, sometimes that's other things, but time, I think, is a very important part of that giving. Time is such an important part, and these kids, they don't have any money, but they got time. They got time to give, and they give it happily, gratefully, thankfully. And so now I want to, went the wrong way again. I want to thank you thank you for your love. Thank you for the example that you set for these kids. Thank you for the compassion that you've given me. And so now, I kind of want to shout out each family that has hosted me specifically. So thank you to Connor and Caden. Thank you to the Storks, the Fars, the Balls, and the Vitarellis. They all hosted me last year. This year, thank you to the Hones, the Balls again, because that time with them was so short as they were gone and then I was gone, so we were really together for like 3 days. So they had me again. And then thank you to the Clinkies. So that's kind of specific, but I could probably thank every single family in here in some way. And so thank you for the encouragement you've been to me. Thank you to Ron, Yuel, Ted, and Brent for giving me last summer and giving me this summer too. I was nervous going into ministry. I'm 22. I'm not going to have it all figured out no matter what. but you give me such an example to learn, elders to strive after, an example I want to thank you to, or all four of you. So, thank you to all of Concord Street for making me a better minister, a better person. Couldn't have asked for more. I was worried that even leaving here, I wouldn't really be ready for ministry. I don't know if I ever will be. I'm so much more ready to kind of go do my own ministry and be on my own. And so because of you, I'm ready. Because of the time that I've spent here, underneath your guidance, I'm ready. And each one of these students, I love you more than anything. And leaving is going to be the hardest part. Leaving last summer was tough. Even though I knew there was a chance I could come back, it was tough. And now I got 2 summers under my belt with y'all, and I got to go. Man, I love each and every one of you. Didn't make a picture. I just don't really take very many pictures, so some of you got lucky, maybe made more than one. But no, that was not favorites at all. I love each and every one of you. I just I didn't get to embarrass you, all of you, so I'm sorry about that.